Welcome, and you're watching Irish Web TV. Well, here we are in Main Street, Cavan, and today Sleep Out Cavan is having an information and collection day. And with me is the founder of Sleep Out in Cavan, and I'd like to welcome Michael Loughman. Michael, very welcome.
On you.
Sleep Out in Cavan, Michael, for those who are not aware or knew anything about it, that is, you started that because you were very concerned about the homelessness in Dublin.
Yeah, in 2014 Jonathan Corrie died and we went to Dublin to protest because of that. And we organised a sleep out, and I saw the necessity for clothes, people that hadn't got anything. So we started supplying clothes, and we've developed from there. We've had a couple of sleep outs. As you can see behind us, we have a lot of clothes collected today now. We have 60 to 70 bags out in the centre ready to go to Dublin. And this provides people who have nothing on the streets with something. Change of clothes maybe once a week or twice a week.
Okay, but Michael, just to get back to the very start, you started this in 2014. That's 4 years on,
Yeah.
and you made, and through people like you, homelessness was made aware. And unfortunately, 4 years on, we're not any different, and it has been called somewhat of an epidemic.
It is. At the moment, you have something like 8,700 adults homeless in Dublin. There's, I think, about 5,000 of them families living in rented accommodation or sheltered accommodation, hotels and emergency places.
This is what we're calling the new poor folks, and it's due to the downturn in the economic thing, you know, like repossession of houses, not enough social houses been made, people not basically being able to afford rent.
It's basically coming from not building houses. The council years
houses
ago,
full stop, not council houses or building full stop?
All houses, but the council have stopped virtually completely building houses. And there is not any affordable houses, so people are having to go and rent houses. And they can't afford this €1,000.
This puts pressure on the rental, so therefore the landowners can put the rent up. And there we have, that's the
Out
problem.
onto the street you go. We've seen it all week in the papers and television, people being evicted. 20,000 mortgages going on sale now shortly. That'll put a lot of people out.
That's the vulture funds, exactly. I was going to mention that to you, but we can see that where the actual rent, the monthly rent of a house can be more than a mortgage in some cases.
In Cavan at the moment, it's somewhere between 800 to 1,000 a month.
To rent a semi-detached house.
No.
And who can afford
And that's
that?
in Cavan town.
Yes, so you work and you pay to rent your house. Okay, Michael, but to get back to your cause, Sleep Out in Cavan, and as you know, you've done wonderful things. We were with you there on a sleep out. You did it outside the Johnson Central Library to make people aware of exactly what it is like to sleep out in the rough for just one night only.
Yeah, it was, people were asking us what's it like to sleep in Dublin. And as I've said to you before, it's very dangerous. What happens to you on the street at night is unbelievable. So we decided we'd hold it in Cavan. We've done two. We're talking of a third one now in August coming.
That's August. And folks, just to think of today, we're now in the month of February, heading into March, and there's a wind chill factor. And we've had this year in particular, we've had a long, rough winter. We've had a lot of snow and sleet, and even coming into March now, the weather is still cold.
Very cold. Just before Christmas, we actually had to go to Dublin in one of the storms to get the people off of the streets. You know, it was very hard. A lot of them wouldn't go in because they're afraid of the shelters. There was one man in a wheelchair on Henry Street, refused to go in because the last time he was in it, he was robbed and stabbed. You know, and this is what you're up against.
Situations
Very
what you're
hard
up against. Now, but to talk about some of the work you're doing and some of the goods you have collected, you also cater for people who want to sleep. They call them rough sleepers now.
Yes.
You cater for those people. As we can see here on the pop-up behind us, you're providing with sleeping bags, thermal mats, you're providing them with tents, and also clothing, boots and clothing that is suitable for rough sleeping.
Yes, and good warm clothes is what we like to get in, but as they tell you, they like to wear a lot of light stuff as well because they can wear more of it than two or three heavy jackets.
So they're getting it down to a fine art now, which it needs to be, unfortunately.
They would teach you how to live on the streets, you know.
And also as well, I'd like to mention the kind of like old times they would have called them soup shops, where you had stations along the street, and people can come at a certain time at night time, and volunteers, non-profit volunteers. Would like to mention as well that Sleep Out Cavan is non-profit. Anybody that donates money or clothing or anything to like that, it goes straight to the fund. But volunteers go out at night time, and they feed these people at night time and look after their needs and give them what they need as well for the night.
The charity I work with in Dublin is called Inner City Helping Homeless, and they send out 3 teams actually at night, 2 walkers and 1 in a van. And they do the north and the south side. They have their own routes where they walk around looking for homeless people. They bring them out sandwiches, tea, coffee, whatever they need. Clothing, if they meet them the night before of Monday night, they'll ask them for a jumper and trousers. The next night they'll have it for them because we supply it to them.
Okay.
You know, we've also opened a centre in Cavan where we store clothes for people who are homeless but drift from town to town. And we found a lot of locals in the town who are starting to come out to us looking for clothing and stuff. They just can't afford it. You know, people
as you know, in this day and age, we have a lot of waste. People gather clothes they don't. We buy stuff we don't need, and this is perhaps a time for you to turn it into, to utilising it into something good. And that brings me on to my next point, Michael. The work you have done and the items that you would like gathered and given to people, and you just don't throw anything out at all, but stuff that will make sense you'd like to see.
We will take anything on you, because what we can do, if it's good enough to wear, we'll give to them. If it's not, it's sold on to make rags and make different things out of, you know. So we will virtually take anything at all.
So in this day and age, I'd like to say that we've been made, since the last 4 years, with different campaigns, being made very aware of what it's like to be homeless and to sleep out. But today, Michael, it just seems to be getting to new levels all the time. And just closing up our interview now, is there anything perhaps you'd like to say to the camera? Is there anything more you'd like to reiterate to people, to say to people? And I'd just like to stop there myself. The Barnado's ad is very touching. The one on the homeless child is very touching. So just maybe to reach into people's heart a bit more, what would you like to say?
I'd say to them not to, don't look away when you meet them on the streets. Talk to them. You know, let them know that you recognise them and you know they're there and that you're willing to speak to them. I don't mean go into a full conversation. Just say hello, how are you? Do you need coffee? Do you need something to eat? If you're travelling to Dublin, bring a little bag with you with some clothes, maybe a sandwich and something like that, or buy them a meal and give it to them. There's lots of ways where you can interact with them on the streets. Don't just look at them and think they're drunks and druggies or whatever. We've a saying, the only time you should look down at a person is when you're picking them up. And we should pick these people up and get them back on their feet, is what we should be doing.
Excellent, Mike. Well, there you are, folks. Simple, basic, human, Christian stuff that you can do to help somebody. Look at them, say hello. Once again, I'd like to thank Michael Loughman. I'd like to thank him on behalf of the people of Cavan for the work he's done for Sleep Out in Cavan and for the work he's done for homeless and made everybody aware. Thank you. You're watching Irish Web TV.